Mainstream media usually presents UFO news as fringe stories for weirdos, but the media has gone UFO mad in the past week, reporting on sightings and events as serious news events. Given that we know mainstream media takes orders from the global elite, and any shift in the narrative must be viewed with deep suspicion, the question must be asked: why have the media changed their narrative so dramatically? According to a World Economic Forum insider, it's yet another case of so-called conspiracy theorists being one step ahead of the rest of the world. Let's take a look at the social conditioning taking place on mainstream networks as they prepare the masses for the global elitists' latest and greatest mass con. Always in the vanguard of the globalist agenda, CNN have been dedicated an unprecedented number of minutes per day to UFO news.
Interesting. This is kind of unusual that these pilots saw different things, and that is sort of, I guess, adding to the mystery of all this.
Yeah, not even the pilots apparently were really able to identify what they saw. And just to take you back for a sec, on Thursday, the U.S. defense officials sent F-35 fighter jets up to try to figure out what this object was that was flying around near Alaska. Those pilots, we have learned, have given very conflicting accounts of what they actually experienced, with some pilots saying that the object interfered with the plane's sensors, other pilots saying that they didn't really experience that, other pilots saying that when they looked at the object, they could identify no identifiable propulsion system, and they did not know how it was actually staying in the air, cruising at that altitude of about 40,000 feet. So this is all added to the Pentagon's wariness of describing in more detail what this object actually is until they can get more information through the debris.
In recent days, we've had reports of UFOs all over the world. On February the 2nd, the Chinese balloon was spotted, and on February the 4th, it was shot down. Then, 6 days later, a UFO was shot down over Alaska.
Footage of the UFO shot down over Alaska.
Break one, blast one.
Could we have shot down an extraterrestrial craft?
And the very next day, on February the 11th, a UFO was shot down over Canada. And in recent days, we've had UFOs appear all over China and Uruguay. And then Montana's airspace was closed for DoD activities. On February the 12th, a UFO was shot down over Lake Huron. While the mainstream media has only just started taking these events seriously and conditioning the masses, it's no secret that world governments have been taking these events very seriously for years. Whether they are trying to make psychic spies or track unidentified flying objects, governments have a history of trying to hunt down the truth behind the bizarre sightings and events reported each year. But according to two well-placed sources, these recent events are more than just cover-up attempts. The world government is planning a supernatural event of its own. According to reputable sources, the government are going to fake a global alien invasion in the year 2024 in order to usher in a one-world government. Here's where it gets really interesting. In his 1994 book, Project Bluebeam, investigative journalist Serge Monost writes that the United Nations, NASA, and other government agencies have been working in secret since 1983 on a top-secret operation called Project Bluebeam. The purpose? To pave the way for a global government by fooling people into thinking it's the end of the world. Here's how it works according to Mr. Monost. First, the global elite will fake an alien invasion, convincing the world that aliens are planning to take over major cities across the globe. Second, religious populations will be treated to a rapture or fulfillment of their religion's prophecies. This will all be fake, conducted through the use of large-scale holograms and microchips hidden within most modern electronics.
In 2024, a global event will alter the course of mankind's future. The world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people into a global panic. Real military crafts within the holograms will inflict actual damage to the surrounding areas to sell the gimmick.
Once the various nations of the world topple under the mass of civil unrest and panic, the New World Order will assert itself, and the people of the world, desperate for any sort of authority, will accept its rule. The notorious globalist Henry Kissinger let the cat out of the bag about the plan in the late 70s. Kissinger, who is Klaus Schwab's mentor, explained in clear terms how the globalists will convince Americans to accept the New World Order.
But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan. But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan. But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan, and it does incorporate the New World Order. And there's been a lot of steps that have taken place to bring people to the point where they will welcome the New World Order, that they actually are thinking according to those lines, and they don't even realize it. Well, some of this work had to do with out-of-body work, which I'll touch on in a minute. 1968-69 was my 10th year. My 10th year in high school. Interesting time. Later we'll go into, I guess after I finish my story, I'll go into more detail about how I've seen things happen as I was told as a child how the plan would progress and what was planned for humanity. Part of it, much of it was happening during the 60s. And I was a part of that, knowing what was going to be happening through the music industry and through Hollywood. And I have seen it come about. I've seen how the presidents of the United States have carried out the plan also. But that'll be another program.
Okay.
All that to say that in the 60s, it was a very interesting time, and we were working to try to get people to get more into the occult. What we're seeing today is we've worked many years to get to where people are today. Many people are looking, they're being encouraged to look inside themselves, to center themselves, and I'll go into more detail later about that also, how that is, actually that's self-centeredness, and you're not going to make yourself a better person by becoming self-centered. But I had Satanists living with me. But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan. But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan. But Lucifer has a plan, and it is called the plan, and it does incorporate the New World Order.
He wrote, "Today Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all the peoples of the world will pledge with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government." Kissinger wasn't the only insider in the late 70s speaking about how the elite will attempt to hijack humanity and brute force the world government upon them. Werner von Braun, the German and US aerospace engineer who worked on Operation Paperclip, confessed on his deathbed in 1977 that the global elites were planning to use terrorists and pandemics as false flags to manipulate and control the masses. Even more interestingly, von Braun said that the final false flag will be a fake alien invasion. The global elites engineered a crisis with the COVID pandemic to erode the sovereignty of nations and terrify the masses into compliance, and they half succeeded. But as anyone who has been paying attention to the disturbing rhetoric coming out of Davos recently will know, the global elite are not done with us yet. It appears that COVID was the dress rehearsal and they have an even greater con up their sleeves. So what should we be doing to stay alert and ensure they don't get away with the plan? Mr. Monost provided details about exactly how the global elite will perpetrate the con. He stated that NASA will use low-frequency electromagnetic waves to communicate telepathically and that the New World Order will phase out cash. At the time, skeptics had several issues with this conspiracy theory. First and foremost, the technology required to inundate the world with realistic visions of aliens and messiahs simply didn't exist in the early 1990s. But fast forward to our present age and all of the futuristic tech that Mr. Monost spoke about has been rolled out by the elite in recent years. There is no doubt that the global elite have the technology to pull off the con. We do know that the US government briefly entertained the idea of using a hologram during the Iraq War. US Air Force planners brainstorming on the best way to achieve a bloodless coup in Iraq proposed creating a giant hologram that would appear to be Allah commanding Iraqis to overthrow Saddam Hussein. This plan was never implemented, but the fact it was even considered at such a high high level proves that the technology exists. Microchips, holograms, electromagnetic waves for telepathic communication. It's uncanny how everything Monast wrote about in 1994 has been rolled out by the World Economic Forum in the last couple of years. Skeptics at the time also questioned whether governments across the world could really cooperate and coordinate closely enough to pull off this mass con. But again, everything Monast wrote about in his book has come to pass. The World Economic Forum has penetrated governments all over the world, placing its own people in the highest offices in the land, in Canada, New Zealand, France and Brazil, to name just a few countries.
That we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
In 2023, there is no question that governments across the world could coordinate closely enough to pull off a mass con. We've already seen it happen with the COVID pandemic. The global elite had governments and mainstream media singing from the same hymn sheet. Mr. Monast was said to be writing a new book with bombshell further information regarding government plans for Project Bluebeam. However, he was found dead in 1996. The official cause of death was listed as a heart attack.
Bright orange lights does not look like white lighting. And you'll notice the bottom left one just went out. Look at that.
Oh! There's another one! There's 3 now! 6?
We are at viewpoint right now. There are 2 lights in the sky. We said it was a plane, but it's not moving. Here. Now there are 4.
They've been sitting there. What the fuck is that?
Bro, these lights just appeared in the sky. It was 2 of them, and then the one on the left, and then the one on the right just appeared. 5.
Oh my god, what the fuck is that? Holy shit, what is that?
Ahí está. Aparecen de nuevo las 5 luces. 6 luces. 6 luces. Wow. Hasta se me enchina la piel. Okay, we're back. There's now 5. We are totally, Ryan and I are absolutely freaking out, dude. We do not know what this is over Point Loma. Look at this! They're just appearing out of nowhere. What the hell? Who's Erica? Neighbor? Alright, now there's 6 of them. Oh, wait, one just went out.
Es un disco, exactamente.
the mind control media has been spotlighting recent reports on UFOs being spotted and even shot down out of the sky. And many suspect it's laying the groundwork for the so-called fake alien invasion that has been reported on now for decades. A false flag event wherein the public is tricked into believing that aliens from outer space are invading the Earth. In his 1991 book, Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper claimed that secret groups within the U.S. government have designed their own flying saucer technology and are planning to launch a staged alien invasion in order to create a one-world government.
What I discovered was amazing. What I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has been a plan in existence since about 1917, and probably before that, to create an artificial extraterrestrial threat to this Earth in order to create a one-world totalitarian socialist government.
Nazi scientist and former head of NASA, Wernher von Braun, reportedly told his assistant, Carol Rosen, that a fake alien invasion will be the final gambit of an ongoing plan to create a one-world government.
And we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
The fake alien invasion is only possible if there are advanced technologies being hidden from the public, capable of pulling it off. And there is plenty of evidence supporting this, from the stolen and censored work of Nikola Tesla to that of John Hutchison, and thousands more. According to some sources, these technologies were discovered by back-engineering alien spacecraft. But the word alien implies extraterrestrial, not from this Earth. And that's the fake part, because humanity's historical record is replete with non-human species that ruled over mankind as gods. This story is the most prolific story on Earth. The Sumerian texts, officially the oldest written documents we have, describe a non-human species that created a unique species of human via genetic modification. These non-humans then began mating with human women and created a new race of giants. This story is prevalent throughout our entire historical record and is found in practically every religious scripture on Earth. Nearly every culture on this planet claims to have been created by a race of godlike reptilians, most often described as serpent gods or dragons. David Icke has compiled scores of personal accounts describing an interdimensional reptilian-like species that hides in the shadows by shape-shifting and taking possession of a human's body. William Bramley's book, Gods of Eden, provides a comprehensive history of a secret brotherhood that works as an intermediary for a reptilian-like species that has been manipulating mankind for millennia. And in all these ancient accounts, we not only read about these godlike species, we read about their flying ships. In the ancient Vedas, they are called Vimanas. These ancient Vimanas were described in great detail 100 years ago in the Vaimanika Shastra and were believed to be found within hidden caves of the Himalayan mountains, which is what likely compelled the Nazis to explore the Himalayas in search of the Aryan race in 1938. We are officially told that the Aryan race was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed breed of humans, but this is a lie. The Aryan race that the Nazis were interested in was the Aryan race of the ancient Vedas, an elusive, non-human species with advanced technologies. And several high-level Nazis claimed that they made contact with them and that they were working for them. During World War II, the Nazis' most highly classified project was the Bell, a mysterious device whose appearance is described the same as the Vimanas of the Vaimanika Shastra, and whose effects are described as altering time and space and defying gravity. When the war ended, several Nazi scientists were absorbed by the US government, and a secret Nazi base was established in Antarctica. Shortly after this, the Antarctica Treaty outlawed all public travel anywhere south of the 60th parallel. So it is plausible that the emerging one world government has the means to pull off a fake alien invasion. And whatever story it is they are trying to tell us, you can be certain that it's a lie, because that's all the media is good for. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie, everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things, we lied about everything. None of it was true. I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The Vector, NASA's official logo. If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swishing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. And then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria, they all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. He Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carrying this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle SDS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the SDS-specific mission patches Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. And you can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino, was made sometime during the 1400s. The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man and his dog standing and looking up at the object. However, this painting has something else being depicted. On the left side of the painting, you see the sun and some vector-like objects seemingly flying from or toward the sun. Perhaps this artist was trying to tell us something. In another painting of the Madonna, made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's quote. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere in the sky. This footage was taken over Mexico City in 2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shapes as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 7, 6, 5. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirt you wear. Now it's in your